The weather's getting warmer and summer is quickly approaching. And that means cookouts, barbecues, picnics, and the best dessert that's quick and easy to bring to a cookout or barbecue is strawberry shortcake. You can make it in advance, pack it in Tupperware, serve it up right there on the spot without a lot of fuss or mess. And we're gonna do my version of a strawberry shortcake right here on the Sweet Spot. Making strawberry shortcake is simple and easy. The two things you have to prep, one is your strawberries, and two is just the sweet biscuits. It's basically a shortcake, which is, if you're Southern, we call them biscuits, but if you're not, you may call it a shortcake, but it's basically a biscuit in my opinion. So what we want to do first is set your oven, preset your oven, or preheat at 425 degrees. And while your oven's preheating, what I like to do is slice my strawberries because I like to get my strawberries and the mixture into the refrigerator so that that sugar can start really sweetening up the strawberries and creating that light syrup that we're gonna love once we stack our strawberries together on our shortcakes or biscuits. So just take a knife and slice up your strawberries. You can do halves, you can do quarters, you can do slices. However you want to slice up your strawberries is fine, because the most important thing is getting them on that shortcake, topping it with whipped cream, and then digging in. Strawberries have been all sliced. I did mine into quarters, so as you can see. That way, for me, you get a nice chunk of strawberries, so when you're cutting through with your fork, that biscuit, whipped cream, and strawberry, you have a nice proportion of each. So now that they're cut, I'm gonna slide my cutting board over here. Let's prep our strawberries before we put them into the refrigerator. There's a few ingredients I use to prep mine. Everyone does something a little different. Some people use sugar. As you can see, my New Orleans accent does creep out during these videos. You can use sugar, or some people use sugar and vanilla. Some people just use straight sugar. Other people use fruit juices. I'm gonna tell you what I do. I use sugar. Thought I was gonna say sugar again, didn't you? I use sugar, lemon juice, and this is optional. I use a little Grand Marnier because it has that citrusy flavor to it. It helps balance the lemon, the strawberries, and the sugar, giving that citrus flavor to the strawberries. Now, when you mix it, I just lightly fold it with a spatula. You're gonna see it looks like you have really glumps of sugar all over your strawberries. As they sit in the refrigerator, that sugar, lemon juice, and Grand Marnier is gonna turn into a nice, sweet syrup flavored with that strawberry essence. So that's why we're just going to fold these. For another little added punch, you could even add a little touch of basil into your strawberries. That also gives a nice, fresh taste. All right, so my strawberries are all folded. I'm gonna take a moment and transfer these into a smaller bowl. I used the bigger bowl so that I had room to fold them without them going everywhere. I'm gonna transfer it into a smaller bowl, cover it, and sit it in the refrigerator until we're ready to serve. I've placed the strawberries in the refrigerator so that syrup is doing its magic right now, while the sugar is really. It's time to make our shortcakes, or if you're Southern like me, biscuits, because if I said shortcake and a Southerner's out there see me make this recipe, they're gonna be like, that's basically a biscuit. So bear with me. All right, so let's mix our dry ingredients together first. So I have my baking soda, my baking powder, I have my sugar, salt, and I like to use lemon zest in my shortcakes. Lemon and strawberry are such a great combination. The tart citrus of the lemon, it actually brings out more of the sweetness and essence of the strawberry. It's a great combo. Even if I'm just eating strawberries on a given day, I might sprinkle, maybe a teaspoon of sugar, a couple of drops of lemon juice, and just go at it because it brings out the flavor so beautifully. So that's why you may see me using a little more lemon. And what I'm gonna do is just fold that together and kind of mix and make sure all those ingredients are combined with the dry flour. Next, we're gonna start incorporating our butter. As you see, I keep talking about the South. We use our hands. So I'm going to use my hands to really mix the butter into this flour. You can use a pastry knife, anything you normally do to incorporate butter, because you don't want the butter, don't use the mixer because you don't want the butter completely smoothed out into the batter. You do want a little bit of chunks. You want to see the butter through the batter because that's going to create that rise and help that shortcake really kind of flake away as you take your fork and dig into it. As you can see, I keep talking about eating a shortcake more than I'm talking about baking, so you know what's on my mind. But anyway, let's start adding our butter. So just taking a couple of chunks of that butter, I cut it into cubes. Keep it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it because I want that butter to be cold. And then I start working it with my hands in the batter. Clean hands, by the way. Wash your hands before you do this step. And just kind of pressing that butter, and you'll start to feel the butter kind of break up inside the batter. And as you break it up with your hands, it's coating that flour and it's starting to come together. So as you work segments of the butter, just keep adding until your butter is completely incorporated and you get a dough that starts to come together. So you'll see it once I'm at that phase what it looks like. My butter's fully incorporated into the flour. It's now time to add our buttermilk. We're gonna use our hands again. You can go right in and use your hands after the buttermilk. I'm just gonna add a little buttermilk and fold the flour over with a spatula first because I don't want all the flour stuck to my hands. That's the only thing, when you go in right away with your hands, all of that flour and buttermilk builds up on your hands and it's harder to work. So I like to just get that buttermilk and flour going, and then I'm gonna finish out with my hands to bring it together. Just add in a little bit more. All right, and then folding that until all of my buttermilk is incorporated. And as you can see, it's starting to come together, and we're gonna add the remaining, and then I'm gonna go in with my hands. All right, as you can see, I'm now using my hands because most of that buttermilk has been incorporated, and it's still gonna be a little wet and wanna stick to my hands, but I need to get my fingers in there to make sure it's all coming together into a nice dough. So just using my fingers, folding over and making sure all of that flour and buttermilk comes together. All right, so it's time to fold our batter. One little tip, I flour my surface, but I also flour my fingertips so I don't get all of that batter sticking to my fingertips again, because I don't use a roller for this step. You can use a roller, but I like to press the batter out, or the dough out, or whatever we're calling it, because I want to fold in but keep that butter really nice and chunky. So I just take my fingers and smooth it out on my surface to a nice shape, and then fold in, and fold again, and then I'm just taking that and flattening that out. Then I'm gonna fold this way, and then fold that one again. And you can do as many folds as you like. With the difference I do between these and if I was making like a regular biscuit to go with a nice meal and sop up some gravy. Once again, my southern coming out, sopping up gravy. I might do a couple of more folds, but with this one, it might be enough. So I'm gonna press it out and see where we're at. Once again, there's two ways you can do this biscuit. You can cut them into biscuit shapes with a biscuit cutter, or you can take a knife and cut them into biscuits. It's completely up to you. For this one, I want them a little pretty and symmetrical, so we're not going so rustic, so I'm gonna use a biscuit cutter, and then I'm gonna tell you in a little bit what I do with the extra. It's genius, because there's no waste. When you cut them, you have zero waste, everything goes into a biscuit. So with the cutter, you do get some edges. So taking a biscuit cutter, I'm just gonna go in and cut out my biscuits. I try to get it as much to the edge as possible. And I'm trying to get at least 6 biscuits out of this because I like really big shortcakes or biscuits. All right, so we're gonna just cut that one. All right. And then we're just gonna place that. Might need a little bit more flour on my mat here. And this is a baking mat or a rolling mat, and it helps the dough from sticking too much to the surface. So if you want to get one of these, they actually work great. I actually love this one. I use it quite a bit with not just making breads, but cakes, anything I'm making where I need a nice surface that's not going to, I don't want things to stick all over the surface. So as you can see, I got 2 out of that. Just get another one. And I'm gonna move this one and then I'm gonna smooth it out. And that one, and then we have 2 more to go. And I'm gonna show you what we do before we put them into the oven, but let me cut these last 2 out and we'll come back and show you what we're gonna do, how we're gonna prep them for the oven. In total, I got 5 biscuits out of my batter. If I made them larger, you could get 6, but 6 is the goal. I could probably take the remaining batter and force into another biscuit, but I wanted to show you what I do with the extra. I just create these little biscuit balls and put them on a tray because we're gonna bake them as well. And what I do with them is I actually am going to make a little bit of a glaze, you know, just with confectioner's sugar and a little cream or lemon juice, if you will, drizzle it on top. And when I want a little snack or a little nosh of something sweet, I just eat this biscuit ball. So it's a nice little trick you can use. And I'm just gonna put a few on the tray if they all fit, but this is a great little trick, especially if you have kids and you just want a fun little treat. You know, your extra biscuit dough from your shortcakes will work perfectly. So as you can see, my biscuits are ready to go into the oven. I have my biscuits, my little biscuit bites or shortcake bites. I guess I should have probably patented that, but these quick little bites. So before we put our biscuits or our shortcakes and our bites into the oven, you want to sprinkle a little sugar. Some people use coarse sugar. If you want to see that those bites of sugar on top, then use coarse sugar. I use a little bit of granulated sugar, but it's the golden sugar, so the crystals are a little bit larger. So the size is in between like that really fine granulated sugar and coarse sugar. And I find that that gives me a good balance to where I don't have to buy additional sugar to coat the top from what I'm using in the recipe, but I still can see that crystallized sugar on top of my shortcakes. We're gonna throw these in that 425-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes. I am going to set my oven for 10 minutes because as you know, as I tell you all the time, it bakes a little bit warmer and faster. But check them and see where they're at, and you might have to add a few more minutes. So we're gonna pop these in the oven, and it's time to make our whipped cream, because when these come out of the oven, we're gonna let them cool for just a subtle bit, and then we're gonna stack our strawberry shortcakes. My biscuits or shortcakes and bites have baked up beautifully. I have the full shortcakes cooling over to the side, but what I want to do is show you very quickly how easy this little treats can be, because it's something that you can, if you don't want to do shortcake and you want to do a bunch of little biscuit bites, you can, or you can use the extra. So I'm going to make a quick little glaze. So I have confectioner's sugar here, just adding a little cream. You can use milk, like I said, a splash of lemon juice if you want a clean citrus flavor, and you just whisk it until you get a nice little smooth glaze, and we're gonna drizzle that over our biscuit bites. All right, my glaze is done. With the glaze, remember the ratio of confectioner's sugar to liquid is what makes it thinner or thicker. So if you want a thick glaze, add less liquid. If you want a thinner glaze, add more. I kind of went in the middle. Also, if you use cream versus milk, it's gonna automatically be a little thicker. So just taking a spoon, I'm just gonna glaze right over my little biscuit bites and just giving them a nice coating of glaze. As you can see, I have a wire rack here. I put a piece of parchment paper underneath just to catch any overflow. I'm just gonna get a few more. You can completely cover these with confectioner's sugar if you want the entire thing to be, or glaze the entire thing. And I might do that, I'm gonna add a little bit more glaze. But once these set, it's gonna be a quick way to like enjoy biscuits without having to have a whole biscuit. And the biscuits aren't overly sweet, so having that little bit of glaze on top won't, like, you're not putting this really sweet thing in your mouth. It's a good balance. And I see one setting up, so I'm going to actually take a taste, and you'll see from my reaction how good these are. That is so good. It's also a great way to test and make sure you have great biscuits for your shortcakes. So let me clean up our biscuit bites, and we're gonna start building some shortcakes. The final step to making our strawberry shortcake is, of course, the whipped topping. We have to have whipped topping on top of our shortcakes. So I have my mixer here, my whipped cream, of course, the essential ingredient, and my confectioner's sugar. So I'm just gonna add my confectioner's sugar to my whipped cream, starting on low. And we're gonna eventually bring this up to high and really whip that whipped cream. Now, some people add vanilla to their whipped cream. You can if you want. I like just like the basic, whipped cream, because it's gonna balance beautifully with those strawberries, with the Grand Marnier and the lemon. It's gonna taste so good. So I'm gonna finish whipping this whipped cream, and then we're gonna finally, I know I keep saying it, build our shortcakes. That moment is here. Let's start building our shortcake. I have my whipped topping. I have my strawberries that have set up in the refrigerator. They smell amazing because all of those juices have come together. And I have my knife to cut my shortcake or biscuit in half. So you just want to cut it in half. They cut very easily. So you have two halves. Look at that. So good, you can smell it. And what we're gonna do is just take a spoonful of those strawberries, and we're gonna layer that right on top of that shortcake or biscuit. Get a few more in there, really pack them on. And what I love about strawberry shortcake, it doesn't have to look pretty. I was tempted, by the way, you know me, to get a piping bag and pipe the whipped topping on top. And I was like, the beauty of strawberry shortcake is you just take a spoon into the whipped topping and just dollop that right on top of those strawberries and create a nice layer of whipped topping. Doesn't that look good? Drum roll. Final step. Let's take that beautiful biscuit top or shortcake top and smash it on top of that shortcake. Look at that. So good. Cannot wait to sink my teeth into this shortcake. Thank you once again for tuning in and joining me right here on the Sweet Spot. I had so much fun making the strawberry shortcake and biscuit bites for all of you. I hope you enjoy. It's about to be summertime, or whether it's not summertime where you are, shortcake just brings fun memories. So, and it's quick and easy and simple recipe. Come back to see more right here on the Sweet Spot.